Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Behrens with your reading lesson. Today we will be reading two different stories, Moonstick and 13 Moons on a Turtle's Back. You'll need your reader's notebook and a pencil, and here are our learning targets. I can compare and contrast different perspectives of the same topic, and I can show my thinking in a Venn diagram. Let's get started. Here's the title or the cover page of the book 13 Moons on a Turtle's Back. Now you'll see it says A Native American Year of Moons. This book has two authors that helped put it together, Joseph Bruchac and Jonathan London, and it is illustrated by Thomas Locker. We are going to learn a little bit about this book before we begin reading. On the inside of the cover, it says Earth, Sky, Sun, Moon. In many Native American cultures, each of the 13 moons of the year is said to hold its own story, and each is powered by the turtle who is believed to contain the mystery of the moon in the shell of its back. From the Potawatomis Baby Bear Moon, to the Anishinaabes Maple Sugar Moon, to the Lakota Sioux's Moon When Wolves Run Together, in Native American legend, the natural world is a place of great power where story lives and helps humans understand the mysteries of the earth. In this collection of poems based on Native legend, Abenaki storyteller and American Book Award recipient Joseph Bruchac and poet Jonathan London have collaborated to give voice to the 13 moons of the year and reveal the wonder of the seasons. Spectacular oil paintings by Thomas Locker honor the myths of Native American peoples and the sublime beauty of the land. Now here is a quick note from the two authors. It says, the Native people of North America have always depended upon the natural world for their survival. Watching the changes going on in the natural world with each season, they also look up into the sky and see it changing. In many parts of North America, the Native people relate the cycles of the moon, called Grandmother Moon by many Native Americans, to those seasons. In every year, there are 13 of those moon cycles, each with 28 days from one new moon to the next. Many Native American people look at Turtle's Back as a sort of calendar, with its pattern of 13 large scales standing for the 13 moons in each year. As grandfather says to Sozop, and as an Abenaki elder said to me long ago, it reminds us that all things are connected, and we must try to live in balance. Not all Native American people talk about 12 or 13 moons. In some places, like the far north and desert southwest, the seasons are divided between winter and summer, or between dry time and the time of rains. Even when speaking of the moons, some Native American nations use several names for the same moon because so many things happen in the natural world at that time. Among the Potawatomi, for example, February is known not just as Moon When Baby Bears Are Born, but also Moon of Snow and Moon of the Wolves. In this book, we have chosen just one moon story from each of 13 Native American tribal nations in different regions of the continent to give a wider sense of the many things Native American people have been taught to notice in this beautiful world around us. It is a world which, as Sozop learned, must be listened to and respected. We see this picture of the turtle right at the beginning of the book. You'll notice it says many American Indian nations call North America Turtle Island. And this is an illustration that describes or shows us the 13 scales on the turtle's back that some American Indian nations connect to the 13 moons of the year. Let's get started. Grandfather leaned over the long spruce log. The small boy stood close, waiting for the old man to notice him. Grandfather looked up, a small smile on his face. Kue Sozop, he says, you do well at watching. Come closer. See now what I have done." So Zop reached up to touch the carved shape of turtle. "How many scales are on old Turtle's back?" Grandfather said. "Kino, look." So Zop counted with care. 13, he answered. "Uh-huh," Grandfather said. "There are always 13 on old Turtle's back, and there are always 13 moons in each year. Many people do not know this. They do not know, as we Abenaki know, that each moon has its own name, and every moon has its own stories. I learned those stories from my grandfather. Someday, grandson, if your memory is as sharp as your eyes, you will be able to tell them to your grandchildren." "Grandfather," so Zop said, "do other native people have moons too?" The old man nodded. "Yes, grandson." Moon of Popping Trees. You'll notice at the bottom of this page it says first moon, Northern Cheyenne. This tells us what number of moon it is, as well as the native nation that it comes from. So, Moon of Popping Trees. Outside the lodge, the night air is bitter cold. Now the frost giant walks, with his club in his hand. When he strikes the trunks of the cottonwood trees, we hear them crack beneath the blow. The people hide inside when they hear that sound. But Coyote, the wise one, learned the giant's magic song, and when Coyote sang it, the frost giant slept. Now when the cottonwoods crack with frost again, our children know, unless they hear Coyote's song, that they must stay inside, where the fire is bright and buffalo robes keep us warm. Second moon, Potawatomi, baby bear moon. Long ago, a small child was lost in the snow. We thought she had frozen, but when spring came again, she was seen with a mother bear and her small cubs. She had slept all through the winter with them, and from then on, the bears were her family and her friends. When we walk by on our snowshoes, we will not bother a bear or her babies. Instead, we think how those small bears are like our children. We let them dream together. Third moon, Anishinaabe, maple sugar moon. Long ago, maple syrup dripped thick from the trees. All year round, you just had to break a twig and lie down beneath the tree with open mouth. But the people got lazy, and when our creator, Gitche Manitou, sent his helper, Manabozho, to visit, he found their village deserted and all the people asleep under the maple trees. So he poured much water into all the maples, so that now the people would have to wake up, make fires, and boil down the sap to make syrup. They would have to work hard, for that maple sap would flow just this one time of the year, the time we now call Maple Sugar Moon. Fourth moon, Cree, the frog moon. When the world was young, Weesekejak the trickster met with all the animals to decide how many moons would be winter. Moose answered, "There should be as many moons of winter as hairs on my body." Amek the beaver said, "There should be as many winter moons as scales on my tail." Then Omakaki the little frog said, there should only be as many moons of snow as toes on my foot." Weesekejak decided that this was right. So it is that winter lasts only 5 moons, and when it ends, the small frogs sing their victory song in this moon with their name. Fifth moon, Huron, the budding moon. One year, Old Man Winter refused to leave our land, and so our people asked for help from our great friend, Juski Ha, known to some as the Sun. He knocked on the door of Winter's lodge, then entered and sat by Winter's cold fire. "Leave here or you will freeze," Winter said. But Juskiha breathed, and winter grew smaller. Juskiha waved his hand, and a white owl flew down to carry winter back to the deep snow of the north. The lodge melted away, and the trees turned green with new buds as the birds began to sing. And where the cold fire of winter had been was a circle of white mayflowers. So it happens each spring. When the budding moon comes, all the animals wake and we follow them across our wide, beautiful land. Sixth moon, Seneca, strawberry moon. In late spring, a small boy, whose parents had died, went hunting game down by the river, where the Jogio, the little people who care for the plants, live. He shared what he caught with those little people. In return, they took him in a magic canoe into the cliffs, taught him many things, and gave him strawberries. He was gone just 4 days, but when he returned, years had passed, and he was a tall man. He shared with his people what he was taught, and gave them the sweetness of the red strawberries. So, each year, the Senecas sing songs of praise to the little people, thanking them again for this moon's gift. The seventh moon, Pomo, moon when acorns appear. When the world was new, it was covered with water, until Earth Elder, the Creator, reached down to the mud below and placed it up onto Turtle's back. Earth Elder shaped the sun and the stars, then sat for a moment thinking of what was most needed, what would help the humans still to come. That was when Earth Elder made the first tree, a great oak with 12 branches arching over the land. Then, sitting down beneath it, the sun shining bright, Earth Elder thought of food for the people, and acorns began to form. So it is each year. When the sun shines brightest, these first acorns come, and our Pomo people gather this moon's coming harvest. Eighth moon, Menominee, moon of wild rice. In the old days, they say, Bear came out of the ground and became a man, but he was lonely. He called to the sky, Thunder Eagle, come down to the earth and be my brother. Then the giant eagle, who made thunder and lightning by flapping his wings and flashing his eyes, flew down, and he, too, became human. Then the Creator, the good mystery, made the thunder people, the water bearers, gave them the gifts of corn and fire. To the people of the bear, the good mystery gave another gift, wild rice. When the thunder people came to visit the bear village near the mouth of the Menominee River, they brought with them water and fire and corn. The bear people gave them wild rice in exchange. And so it came to be that these two families lived together and harvest this special food in the wild rice moon. Ninth moon, Micmac, moose calling moon. In this season, when leaves begin to turn color, we go down to the lakes and with birch bark horns make the sound which echoes through the spruce trees, the call of a moose looking for a mate. Moo-ah-ah, moo-ah-ah. If we wait there, patient in our canoes, the moose will come. His great horns are flat, because, long ago, before people came, Glooskap asked the moose what he would do when he saw human beings. I will throw them up high on my sharp horns, Moose said. So Glooskap pushed his horns flatter and made him smaller. Now, Moose, he said, you will not want to harm my people. So the moose comes and stands, strong as the northeast wind. He looks at us. Then we watch him disappear back into the willows again. Tenth moon, Cherokee, moon of falling leaves. Long ago, the trees were told they must stay awake 7 days and nights. But only the cedar, the pine, and the spruce stayed awake until that 7th night. The reward they were given was to always be green, while the other trees must shed their leaves. So each autumn the leaves of the sleeping trees fall. They cover the floor of our woodlands with colors as bright as the flowers that come with the spring. The leaves return the strength of one more year's growth to the earth. This journey the leaves are taking is part of that great circle which holds us all close to the earth. Eleventh moon, Winnebago. Moon when deer drop their horns. Now is the time when all the deer must band together in their winter lodges. All autumn, the bucks fight with each other, each one seeking to prove himself stronger, each wanting to be the chief of his people. At one time, the deer kept their horns all year, but when they entered those winter lodges, the bucks continued to fight with each other. Earthmaker, seeing how the deer suffered, sent Nanabush, his helper, to loosen the horns from their foreheads in this moon of late autumn. Now, each winter, when the deer gather, just as we enter our medicine lodges, they leave their weapons outside the door. Their horns drop onto earth, white with peaceful snow. 12th moon, Lakota Sioux. Moon when wolves run together. Long ago, an old wolf came to that time when his life on earth could last no longer. My people, he said, you can follow my footsteps when the time comes for you to join me in the Skyland. Then he left the earth, climbing higher and higher, and each place he stepped, the sky was filled with stars. Shunk Manitou Tonka, we call the wolves, the powerful spirits who look like dogs. When they climb the hills to lift their heads and sing toward the road of stars, their songs grow stronger as they join their voices. So, in this moon, we climb the hills. Lift our eyes toward the wolf trail, and remember that our lives and songs are stronger when we are together. Thirteenth moon, Abenaki, big moon. The elders say our land was shaped by Ozihozo, the changer, who formed himself out of the dust which fell from Creator's hands after making the world. He pushed against the earth to rise, and great mountains rose up on either side. Then the waters flowed into the place where he stood and made Lake Champlain, the lake we call Peyton Bakak, the waters between. When Ozihozo's travel on this earth were done, he came back to rest by this lake once again, making the circle complete. So it is that our own people of the dawn place one final moon at the end of each cycle. We call it Kichikisos, big moon. Its name is the last in our circle of seasons, 13 moons on Old Turtle's back. Let's review our learning target for today. I can compare and contrast two perspectives of the same topic. Now that we have read 13 Moons on Turtle's Back together, it is your job to read a second book titled Moonstick, which was written by Eve Bunting. This book is attached to the assignment in Schoology and has many similarities, but also some differences to 13 Moons on Turtle's Back. Your job is to read Moonstick independently, then complete the attached Venn diagram to show your comparison and your contrasting of these two different stories. Be sure to include at least 3 ideas in each section of the Venn diagram. And when you have completed showing your thinking, turn in your work to Schoology.